I am Ian Chong, and I only like to have a party. I'm not affiliated with a political party. Okay, so I'm not a lawyer, so I have a sort of question for the panel of lawyers that we have here. If, for instance, elected president, has some kind of sentiment towards an issue that has sort of potential policy consequences, but not directly. So, if, for instance, a president feels that the handicap, more can be done for the handicap, and sort of says this in public, right? It may not be on everyone's top agenda right now, but it could have downstream issue, downstream influence on policy. Then in that case, would that be constitutional, unconstitutional, illegal, or illegal? And what would the what does the Constitution then allow the government and the courts to do? Related to that, what if a elected president, for whatever reason, decides to hold up these key appointments, and that could potentially be very disruptive? What then can the government or the courts do? Thanks.
Okay. Do you understand?
I can try.
Okay. Why don't you start first?
I hope I understood you correctly. You said that if the president does certain things which the Constitution is silent about, for example, supporting the disabled, is that legal, illegal, and what can the government and courts do? Am I correct?
Yeah.
Well, I think I would actually look at a constitutional convention, because the constitutional text is not exhaustive. And you would see that when it comes to social causes, I don't think the government has had any problem with President Nathan and previous presidents highlighting causes like that. Because in a sense, they're relatively uncontroversial. Mm-hmm. The difficulty comes when you wade into a controversial topic, and then you get into questions of legitimacy. I voted for you to protect the money. Why are you talking about something else?
So what can the courts do? What can the government do in that case?
The courts can't do anything because the Constitution is silent on this. This would be a matter of political negotiation between two political branches.
Okay, Sean. No? No, she's finished.
I'm done.
She's finished.
I think I don't have much of a disagreement with Leanne, except I will put this qualifier in. You see, you talk generally about handicapped welfare. If the president were to go and open a place for handicapped people, or people who are physically disadvantaged, and says that more such centers should be opened, it's good, this sort of work should be encouraged, that's fine. But if he were to say the government should put more money in, that becomes a matter of government policy. And based on what I've just read out to you, under our Constitution, he's not allowed to say that, except as advised by Cabinet.
So if he does, what are you going to do?
Okay. If he does what he can do, he is acting unconstitutionally. There are various consequences laid out. I would prefer not to go into that.
Why? I mean, I'm just a voter, so I'd like to know, right?
Well, as I said, there are a number of different steps possible, and I would prefer not to get into a hypothetical argument. It's possible, in the first place, I would think that when there is a difference like this, the president would be advised that he ought not to do this without the advice of Cabinet. If he continues with that, then really, I would say, let's cross the bridge when we come to it.
And the same if he keeps on disrupting appointments.
I think Leanne wants to add something.
Just a point.
Thank you for your question. You can sit down.
When it comes to charitable causes, I don't see why you always have to point the finger at the government, because you should be galvanizing, the society at large. I think the president's a bit like Angelina Jolie, or George Clooney. In the sense, they have star power, right? There's an event and the president turns up, and everybody will listen to him. When George Clooney highlighted the plight of the Southern Sudanese, the UN kind of everybody started looking at that whole issue. So I think that the president can actually usefully use his star power, his celebrity, if you like, to actually promote charitable works among society at large.
Yes.
I don't think there'll be any objection to that.
Yeah, I think the president does do a lot of that. So let me, could I just ask you a hypothetical question? Because the line is sometimes not very clear. Huh? The president has been very active in helping all the different VWOs, volunteer welfare organizations, who look after our disabled children and adults in fundraising, in visiting them, encouraging them. Supposing that he were to go to a school for children with a particular disability, and the president to follow the president. And suppose at the end of the visit, he were to say, I'm very impressed by the teachers, I'm very impressed by the student, but I think the physical plan of the school is not good enough. Is he
I don't think that's
crossing the red line?
I don't think so.
No, huh?
I don't think so. I think, these situations, Prof, have really got to be resolved by common sense. And he goes there, he looks at it. First of all, he would be entitled to say anything he thinks, including the physical plans or the lack of proper care, etc., to the Prime Minister. But separately in public, I think he's entitled to talk about the state of repair or disrepair.
Right.
And I wouldn't think that's crossing the line.
Okay. But would it cross a red line if he were to go further and say that Singapore has not yet acceded to the Convention on the Rights of the Disabled, he should not say this in public?
Absolutely.
Do you agree with that?
I agree with that.
Okay.
That's because that has got to be decided. Those issues are decided in Cabinet, which conventions we will accede to.
Right.
And there are good reasons, at least in national interest, why we accede to some and why we don't accede to some. And really, it is not for the President to say that in public.
Okay.